Gentlemen, this is Life Beyond 6 Feet. I'm Damien, and welcome to the show. This week, I have another past guest from Season 1, Episode number 8. I have Miss Kristen Amanda of the Paranormgirl Podcast. Kristen, welcome back to Life Beyond 6 Feet.
Well, thank you, Damien, and welcome back to you, sir. I am so happy you are back in action, back in the saddle. Just really looking forward to the show. I missed it. I missed you. I mean, I see you all the time, but
Right,
I missed you, buddy.
right. And like I told Gil and Joy when I talked to them, you three guys are the reason I brought the show back. Y'all bestowed that excitement back into me with what we've been doing. And I knew at some point I would bring the show back. I just didn't know when. And over the last, 6-7 months now, with what we've been doing, that excitement's been brought back. And I'm like, it's time to start back up. So
Yeah, absolutely.
so
Oh,
it's been a long time coming. I know a lot of people were like, "Are you going to come back? When are you bringing it back?" And I was like, I don't know when or if, and so
well, I'm glad. And like I get the reasons why, podcasters need a break sometimes. I get it. It always hurts my heart a little bit, especially when it's a good show. You always brought good content, you ask good questions, great guests, and it's just like, oh, you gotta let them fly and come back when they want to. But I'm just really happy you're back.
well, I appreciate it. So let's talk about what you've been up to on your show, because now I know you're up to like what, season 6, 7, somewhere around there, episode like 150 or something. It's outrageous
Yeah.
how much you've done just in the couple of years since we you first chatted. So tell
Crazy.
me what the show's been up to in the last couple of years.
Well, last couple of years,
Yeah.
actually, basically the last two seasons have been the last couple of years. It's so funny. Like I think about the beginning when I was mapping out the show, I was like, okay, so here's the deal. I'm going to do one subject each season. Each season's only going to be like 9, 10 episodes. It's going to be great. It's going to be just a quick education. And that's how it started out. And then slowly over that first like year and a half, the season started growing. And then I hit season 5, which was all about aliens and UFOs. And that one was 30 episodes. And I was like,
Oof.
dang. Okay, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to reel it back in. So here I am at the end of season 6, all about Sasquatch. And I think I'm about 50 episodes in. It dang near took an entire year to do this season, which is, I mean, in all reality, that's probably about right.
Hmm.
Like try to measure the seasons by the year, kind of stretch it out a little bit. And it's provided me more opportunity to explore even more minute, like niches and little facets of the
Hmm.
subject of Sasquatch, things I never thought I would learn or want to know. Like, Sasquatch has been a trip, man. It's never really been one of those subjects for me. Like growing up, it wasn't, nobody really talked to me about it. It wasn't really like the stories that we would tell each other. We were all about like ghost stories and
Hmm.
afterlife stuff, and that's my jam. But yeah, just jumping headfirst into Sasquatch, into a subject I really, really didn't know much about. I knew about the Patterson Gimlin film. I knew about the phenomenon. Like yeah, okay, some people think there's this big hairy ape out in our woods.
Right.
And that was about it. That was about it. And I've said that before for different subjects, but like for this, like it's the real deal. I'm honestly speaking, just from my heart. I didn't know much about it. So it was kind of, I don't know, just eye opening and mind blowing to really learn, like, why is it that people believe this phenomenon? Why do they believe so hard that this thing is out there? And here at the end of the season, I have gathered why. I'm getting it. Yeah.
All right. And and that is quite a few episodes to do about one
Mm-hmm.
subject. But when you actually deep dive into any kind of subject, the next thing you know, you're like, holy shit, I've already done like 72 episodes about this one thing. Where did the time go? So I mean, I could only imagine if I really if I did my show like you and like Gil and them did, where I just kind
Mhm.
of focused on one subject per episode, I'd get lost, and then I'd be like, oh well, I just discovered this. Now I want to do one about this, and I would just keep going.
Yeah.
And so that's I don't really have time for that. So with kids and everything, that kind of takes up a lot of the time. So uh, that's kind of the reason I wanted to stick with just talking to people. I've thought about doing an episode here and there, just, but then I'm like, do I really just want to hear myself talk for an hour?
Mm.
So, um, but I give you and Gil and everybody that does these kind of episodes major props because like I would either talk too much or I would lose interest very easily and I would just stop
Mhm.
doing it. So
Yeah.
I get
Yeah.
sidetracked very easy if my mind's not focused in on it. Like I've tried to sit down several times to put all my different paranormal experiences onto paper and I'll get sidetracked. And then I
Mhm.
was like, well, I'll do some more tomorrow. And then tomorrow comes, I don't do it. I'll do some the next day. The next day comes and so, I mean, I had about 6 pages typed out at one point. I have no clue what happened to it, and so let's uh let's chat a little bit about Tombstone. I know recently you went to Tombstone, Arizona for a
I
convention. How did that
did.
go?
Oh my gosh. It was amazing. It was just an amazing trip from start to finish. Never been to Tombstone, and I was accepted as a vendor at the Tombstone Wild West Paracon. This was their second annual one, and it was just rad. I met so many people, professionally speaking, at the convention. I met so many people. I had my booth set up like a little like radio station, had my banner, had a bunch of people stop at my table that first day. The second day was a different story. It was a little bit quieter and people were like, no, no, no. But first day was just bomb, dude. Like talked to so many amazing people, met a lot of people, got to meet Bruce. Oh gosh. Oh no. His last name escapes me. He's the coordinator of the Wild West Paracon, and he's just a hoot. He was on my show. I actually did a two-part with him because he has some great stories. He's a great storyteller, so I just let him go. But he was great, and yeah, met actually a couple of upcoming guests that I'm going to have on in season 7 at the end of the summer. So that was great. And they actually provided me with the stories that they sat down and gave me at my table. We recorded all of them. So that's going to be part of my content for my summer hiatus that's coming up. So we'll do a special installment of the Paranormgirl podcast, just like ghost stories and scary stories.
Right.
So that part was awesome. Experiencing Tombstone was awesome. Like, if you've never been, whatever it is you think, like whatever it is that you have in your mind, like you've seen the movie Tombstone, you hear people talking about, yeah, it's like the old buildings and, it's all like a bunch of original stuff or it looks like old Western. It is that. It's like you're walking down this dirt road and it's just the boardwalks on both sides and the little kind of cute little shops and saddleries and cigar shops and stuff like that. It's very atmospheric, like it's like you step back in time a little bit. And then the place that we stayed in an old bordello
Oh wow.
that, yeah, way back in the day, it was actually moved across town because it was too close to a school. So they picked up this house, moved it across town. They built some additions onto it, but they actually retained the original staircase and 2 original rooms. And we were able to stay in one of those original rooms. And it was actually, I had specifically asked for the most haunted room.
Hell yeah.
That's what I wanted. Yes. So we were planning to do some ghost investigating at this place. I don't know how far you want me to go into this. Just tell me
As
to shut
far
up.
as far as you want to go.
So we had been planning, let's bring our equipment, let's do some investigating there. I mean, it's a bordello, it's so old. And then we're in the most haunted room. So like the first night, we set up the EVP recorder and we were just talking, hoping to catch some EVPs, and nothing happened. And it was weird because like the room itself was It was quaint. It was cute. It was quiet. It was like very peaceful, like a peaceful atmosphere. So I didn't feel anything.
Right.
They keep a journal on the bedside table for guests of the room to write down their experiences with Sadie. That's the name of the ghost that purportedly haunts it. And a lot of people have written like, yeah, the faucet in the shower turned on, and a door opened, a drawer like wiggled, stuff like that. And so I'm waiting the whole weekend. Nothing was happening. Okay. That's fine. That's fine. Maybe Sadie just likes me. And so like the next night, so we had met one of our fellow boarders, and he's a coordinator, and I think he runs the tours over at it's a penitentiary over in Maryland. Oh shoot, big one, big one. Anyway, I'll remember it afterwards. You put it in the show notes. And so we made buddies with him. He was amazing, and he wanted to jump in on a ghost hunt with us. So we investigated the downstairs like sitting room, the parlor area. Man, we got some amazing evidence. It was so active down there, and we were just down there for a couple of hours. Like I couldn't
Mm.
believe the stuff that was happening. I'll post that sometime this summer on my channel because I want to share that stuff. It was just incredible. Like at one point, I literally thought he was coming down the stairs to join us. The stairs have a very particular creak.
Mhm.
And so I heard these footsteps coming down the stairs. And I was like, "Oh, hold on, Lee. Hold on, Lee. Patrick's coming. Don't just keep recording, but let's wait for him to come down." And it comes down the stairs, down the stairs, down the stairs, and right at the foot, like there's a wall there, right at the foot of the stairs, the footsteps stop. And we're both just like sitting there in anticipation of Patrick to come around the corner. We're like, what the Patrick? And so I had to I got up and went over and poked my head around the wall. Nobody's on the stairs. Nobody's there. Like it was, oh, like I'm getting chills thinking about it because it was so real. And you can hear that on the tape that we did catch that. So that was like the second night or like the night before. Yeah, that was the second night. Sunday came, great. Still hadn't heard from Sadie. And then we were leaving Monday morning. And Monday morning, I set my alarm for like 5:30 or something. I wanted to get up early and just like really get going and be there early at the airport. So I set my alarm for 5:30, and I hit snooze, and I'm kind of dozing in and out, just kind of dozing. I'm like, yeah, I'll get up in a second, dozing. And then very distinctly over at the door, I hear a soft woman's voice say, "Bye." My eyes shot wide open. Like it was like I could distinctly hear. It was just on the other side of Lee. He was laying next to me, right by the door, like at head height, where you would imagine. Bye. That was it. That was it. I heard from
Wow.
Sadie. Yeah, I
That's
did
awesome.
finally hear from
Actually, I
Sadie.
got chills thinking that you telling that. So it's awesome. That is awesome.
Thank
So that
you.
was your what? Your fourth, fifth investigation now?
Oh gosh. Yeah, it's got to be.
Because I know when we chatted the first time, you had done two.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Yeah. So and then we've done two since we've been here. We investigated St. Ignatius, and we investigated a post office. Um, has that been it? That's been it. Yeah.
so
Yeah.
number five, you're getting up
Uh-huh.
there. You gotta you hadn't quite caught up to me yet, but you're getting there.
Man, no, you're the goat, man. I don't think I can catch up to that.
Well, I don't know if you mentioned those other two investigations, you may have in our group chat somewhere along the way. So anything interesting happened in either one of those?
The two recent ones, the St.
Yeah.
Ignatius. Yeah. Hmm. Well, I'll tell you the easy one first, because so this was the post office, and the story was a friend of mine works there, and the story was that it's haunted by this woman. And she doesn't know who she is. She's like looked through the history, documents and all that. I mean, she thinks she's just like a patron or whatever, like an old patron that just really enjoyed being there and going through and
Right.
meeting her, seeing her friends and talking with everybody. So she calls her the lady. And that's it. So we were there for like 3 hours, and nothing was happening. Like nothing, like there wasn't any weird feeling. We weren't getting any EVPs. Like the buzzers weren't going off. Nothing. So I was like, okay, well, I'm getting really tired. It's getting late. Let's go ahead and wrap it up, and we'll check the tapes tomorrow, in my review. And like on the drive home, it was so weird. Like I suddenly got this just banging headache. Like it hurt so bad. And it just came out of nowhere. I don't get migraines. I rarely get headaches. And it's like slowly dissipated the further and further we got away from the post office. So I don't know if that was like, I don't know what that is. Like if that's a regular phenomenon, like if you've ever experienced that, like if you have body aches or headaches, like from a location, I don't know.
Usually, the only time I will experience a headache is if I haven't ate much throughout the night. That's why we try to load up on snacks. But I can't recall that ever happened. I'm not saying it hasn't happened, but I can't.
I don't know. I don't know. I just attributed it to some kind of energy,
right?
That maybe didn't want us there. I don't know, or I soaked up too much of the energy. I don't know. We would review the recordings and everything later, and we did actually capture quite a bit of stuff. We just didn't know it at the time.
Right.
Now the other one, St. Ignatius Hospital. Some people like to say, skeptical people like to say that, oh gosh, the hosts and the coordinators there, they just really, really like over exaggerate like all that's going on there, and they try to trip you out, blah, 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 before they set you free in the building.
Now, is this an abandoned hospital?
This is an abandoned hospital.
Okay.
It was built back in the late 1800s, and was an asylum, and
oh wow,
I don't know, so it's something. It's got a history. It's got a crazy history. Yeah. So the St. Ignatius Hospital in Colfax. It's been on a bunch of shows too. Now what they're saying with that, like them over exaggerating the activity, that might be the case. That might be the case to some extent, but what we experienced that night, it most certainly was just genuinely happening. That's what was happening. A lot of stuff happened. I'll just tell you two of the most distinct that just totally stick out for the whole experience, because we were there for like 3.5, 4 hours. Was it 3.5? I can't remember how long they let you run around. So the first experience, there is a room of a past patient who was confined to a wheelchair at one point. He was in like this horrible wreck at some point, and he was paralyzed, and he did not like this. And the story is that his ghost still haunts his old room. And when he was alive, he was not very nice to any nurses, because he was just so mad. He was so mad at what life had dealt him. And so in the afterlife, not much has changed. He's still, I think his name was Michael. He's still a little monster. But we were in his room, and we had set up a REM pod in the window. Now, if you know anything about St. Ignatius, there's no electricity in this whole building. Like the closest electricity is like a street lamp, like across the alleyway, like way across. So there's no interference like that. And we set up this REM pod just in the window, where we thought, well, if you're in a wheelchair, you'd like to sit by the window and look outside at the outside world. And we just started asking questions. And like 5 minutes into like maybe talking to the spirit, waiting to see if he would respond, the REM pod goes way off the charts, just bloop, bloop, like all the lights. Bloop. And so we keep asking questions. It keeps going. And like we're standing across the room just watching this thing go off. And that really, like, I don't know, like affected me. One, I've never used a REM pod before. I understand the concept behind it, the idea behind it. Like somebody has to be around it, or some kind of electrical interference.
Yep.
And then we talked for a little bit more, and then we said goodbye, and it like turned off, and it didn't go anymore. Like nothing. I don't know. I don't know how to explain that kind of activity. Like what was affecting that, if not Michael? Okay. So the other thing, Rose is a very famous figure in this hospital. A lot of investigators love to go specifically for Rose. And she was an interesting character. She was like, at one point, she was like painting the walls with her poo and
Yeah.
like peeing everywhere. And
Oh no.
she was kind of wild. She was wild. Um, but fun. I don't know. She's a fun character. So we learned about Rose. Like first thing, before we started the investigation, the host told us about Rose, and you might run into her, you might smell something. I mean, a lot of people report different things. And so all night long, we're up on the top floor, down in the basement, all over the place, blah 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 blah, and nothing from Rose. Like we actually didn't really know where she was located at that point. I think either that wasn't told to us or we forgot. She's on the third floor, I believe, third or second floor. And so we were like, okay, let's go back up to where we saw a shadow figure. Well, we didn't see shadow. There was a shadow figure earlier that night. So let's go back up to that floor and let's just walk down it and see if we get anything else. So we're back up on that floor. It's just Lee and I alone on the floor. We're walking down, like slowly down the hallway towards where the shadow figure activity had happened earlier. And about halfway down the hallway, we suddenly both just stop on a dime. It was as if we had walked right into a wall of rose perfume and pee. Like it was so pungent, Damien. And my heart started racing because we turned on the light and looked to the left. I'm not even joking. We were right smack right at Rose's room, like the door to her room. And just to run into this wall of something so physical, a scent like this, because you purportedly will smell rose perfume. You can smell pee, you can smell poo, like the stuff. So like for us to run into that very specific scent right at Rose's room when we didn't know where we were in the building, like on the floor, we were walking around in the dark.
Right.
And so just that experience in itself, nothing really happened after that. We went into our room after that and like did some EVP session, but nothing really happened. But just that specifically has stuck with me because it was just, I don't know, it was just a powerful experience. Just another experience of like, how do I explain this?
Right.
Where is that coming from? Yeah.
Yeah, those phantom smells are definitely intriguing. I've ran into that a few times. Just like where I used to live, none of us smoked, and we'd randomly get a strong smell of cigarette smoke.
Yeah.
And I would just kind of chalk that up to my, being my aunt because she was a heavy smoker. And so it's really strange, and to be that specific, like a perfume mixed with urine, that's wow.
I know, it's a very specific scent, isn't it?
And for the REM pod to be going off like it did with all the lights going on, that doesn't happen that often. Normally, when it goes off, it'll be the red light or the green light. But for all of them to go off, that's like that takes some energy because I don't. Because very rarely have I been using our REM pod and all the lights go off at the same time.
No kidding.
Normally it's just the red light, and then sometimes you'll hear it beeping, but none of the lights are going off. And when it's just beeping, normally that's like it's detecting a temperature change.
Okay.
But for all of them to be going off, like I think there's a purple light on there. I don't think I've ever seen go off with ours.
Whoa.
So yeah, that's pretty rad. You got to experience that.
So that makes it even more of a just like a crazy powerful experience. I didn't know it was so infrequent that happens.
I've like I said, I don't think I've seen it, but maybe one or two times. We've had our REM pod for about 3 years.
Okay.
So yeah, it's that's pretty wild.
Yeah. So that was St. Ignatius. I do recommend you go at some point. You'll love it.
That it's now on the bucket list. I think I've heard of it. I think I've seen it on one of the paranormal shows, maybe Ghost Hunters, maybe. I think maybe they've been there, but because it sounds familiar. So but yeah, you got really, really lucky to see that. And speaking of lucky, how's things going with him?
Lucky has been rehomed.
Oh no.
Yeah. He now resides at my office, my place of work.
Yeah, I remember you telling me that. I thought maybe you gave him to somebody else. Okay.
No, because I do feel a responsibility for Lucky, as weird as that sounds. Like
right.
It's just a doll. It's just he's made of plastic, but I do feel a responsibility. He boy, it was such a strange start to that relationship. Like I showed you the video.
Yeah, I've still got
Dogs
it
were
on my phone.
barking.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Okay. For your audience, my dogs were going crazy, and we were recording it because I was going to do like an unveiling of Lucky, and the recording just stopped. It froze. It just shut off. No reason why. So that was weird. Weird start. And I had it in my mind when I got him because the person who had given him to me said that, some weird stuff is going to be starting to happen here. So you just best be careful and be respectful to Lucky.
Right.
It's like, okay. You know what? In my mind, I'm going to make up my mind that, you know what? This doll isn't bad. It's not mischievous. It's lucky. It's a good omen. It'll be my good omen. It'll be my lucky charm. I had him here for about a week, I think, after I unveiled him on the beer, booze, and boogeymen before he was moved. Because within that week, I was having I had a strange like thing with my phone. Like it went on do not disturb just all by itself one night. I was like flooded with a bunch of missed messages the next morning. I was like, what the hell is going on? Another time, I asked Lucky again with the respect. I asked Lucky, would you be in my video about haunted electronics? You got to let me know. And right at that moment, I got a text message and I took that as a sign. I was like, okay, I'm not going to mess with that. I'll use another doll. And then the tipping point. So I have 2 dogs, 2 cats, and they are my life. They are my world. And I was out of town for just one night. I was coming back the next morning. And that night, while I was 4 hours away, I received word that one of my cats had gotten out. I am in Coyoteville. And like I dropped everything and I came right home. And we could not find her. Couldn't find her for the life of us. Thankfully, I won't bore you with the horrible details and the sobbing. But thankfully she was found 24 hours later, uneaten by coyotes, a little dirty, a little stinky, but she is now safely back home.
Well, that's good.
But I was sitting here thinking about it. I was like, boy, this has been really weird. It's like been one thing after another since Lucky came into my home. But if he had anything to do with my cat just mysteriously escaping like that, that is too far. I don't give a I don't care. I got to rehome him. I got to get him out of here. If his energy has anything to do with it, he's got to go. So yeah, he's at my office now and he seems happier. There's not weird stuff happening at the office. Everything is fine here at my home now. So he seems happier.
I'm going to retract that statement because you did say the other day you had an Alexa going off in your office next door.
Oh, you know what though? No, I did figure it out.
Oh,
I
did you?
figure it out? Yes. I guess maybe I've never heard it do this before, but it was it seems to be connected to the person's schedule, like their Google Calendar. So I caught it again. Yeah, because it did it again. I was there yesterday and it did it again in the morning. I was like, what is it saying? What is it saying? And I ran over to her office real quick and I heard it like repeat itself. And it was saying like, there's a work order due in half an hour. I was like, oh, okay, that makes more sense.
Okay, so that's debunked. That's
that
good.
is debunked.
That's good to know. Yeah, because I remember you had asked me if I wanted Lucky, and I was like, yeah, if I was single, I'd probably take it off your hands, but
yeah, well, I mean, he'll be around for a while, so he's always on the table.
So we're gonna dive into something that has brought 4 people really close together over the last 6 or 7 months. At the end of season number 3, was it 3? Yeah, I think season number 3. I did another paranormal roundtable. I had you on as a I guess the panelist, whatever you want to call it, a debater. I don't know. And Gil was on, and of course a couple other past guests, but that was the first time you two had actually met. And I remember after the show, after we recorded, Gil was messaging me. He's like, "Dude, Kristen's cool as fuck, blah blah blah." And I was like, "Yeah, she's pretty rad, dude." And so you two hit it off after that recording, and y'all became pretty good friends. And like I said, me and Gil had become pretty good friends before that. And me and you had talked quite a bit. And I discussed this with Gil and Joey last week when I recorded with them. Gil's remembering of it is a little different than mine, and I'm like, well, we would have to go through all the messages, and that's a lot. I initially thought it was my idea to do a show with all three of us, and he was like, well, no, we were trying to get you to come back, and
Mm-hmm.
I threw out the idea of a call-in show, and then I messaged Kristen to try to kind of nudge you along, and then I just started the group chat, and it just kind of grew from there. And you were like, so when are we doing this? And I was like, maybe that's how it happened, but our eternal group chat has now developed into a monthly live podcast, and Gil somewhat jokingly, came up with the name. He just tossed it out there, and I was like, actually, that's a really neat name. And he was like, I was like, we should go with that. And of course, Joey got brought in on episode number 2, and over the last 7 months, all you guys I've become really close to you guys. Y'all are like my main group of friends now, because my friends here I don't talk to that much anymore. Just
Yeah.
life happens, and it's just how it is sometimes. So y'all have kept me sane, this past year. So let's talk a little bit about B3, about beer, booze, and boogeyman. What is your recollection of how this actually started?
Oh man. Okay. See, my brain is fuzzy as to who was the instigator of what would become Beer, Booze, and Boogeymen. I do know, I agree with Gil that at that time, because he and I were going back and forth, like we wanted to help you, like we were trying to push you. Remember, trying to push
Yeah.
you. Yeah, you know what? Just start a call-in show, start a live show. Just do it like once a week, and it'll be easy. You don't even have to prepare. Blah blah blah. And so I know he and I were talking about that a couple of times, like okay, how do we encourage Damien to just get back into the saddle? He's got to do it. Um, and then how in the heck did it morph into suddenly, okay, we're all doing a show together now. This will be fun. Yeah, because Joey hadn't popped into it yet. But yeah, and then I don't remember. I'll have to go back in the messages and see how in the heck did that actually happen. It's like magic.
Right. And and it and I don't remember what I was searching for this morning. Um, but I was searching through the group chat, and I think this initially started like developing back in like December of last year.
It did. Yeah. Yeah, well, it's interesting because so I had been chatting with Gil just about like I would tell him every now and then like man, I am dying to do a live stream. Like I want to do like just a live stream for PGP. I don't know what to do. Here's some ideas. I'm thinking about launching at the first of the year, launching something extra, something new. But like I don't want to do any extra work. Like it's a lot already. I got a lot on my plate, so it has to be something I can just turn the live on and go. And I think he was telling me like even months before that he and Joey were considering doing some kind of live like at some point like. And so he was like okay well we're thinking about starting something at the first of the show. Hey, you want to be our guest on it or whatever, you want to come on sometimes? I'm like yeah cool, that would be great. So that was already kind of in rolling
Mm-hmm.
before December. And then yeah, and then that idea started formulating in December. Like, hey, all three of us, like Damien needs to be doing this. We're already thinking about doing this. Like, let's do a call-in show. You already threw out the idea of a call-in show. Let's do it. Um, yeah. So it was in the works, like well before that first one.
Right, and it's been really fun, and it feels like, to me at least, it's been well received. Up until the last episode, when we got interrupted by a power outage of YouTube or whatever the hell happens, and but yeah, it's been fun, and we've all had some pretty interesting stories, and we've had some
Yeah.
interesting calls. I,
Which one? Which one? What?
you know
You're
which one I'm
thinking of
talking about.
Bigfoot. You are thinking of Bigfoot. I know.
Oh, and now
How
that
could
you
I forget?
and now that you sent the audio the other day, I was like, I need to go back and listen to that. So, even
Yeah,
oh gosh. Anyway,
it was so
so
good.
so did you foresee this lasting as long as it has so far?
Does the what? G-force what?
Do what?
Huh?
G-
Say that again.
I don't even know what I said. You done threw me off track. Uh, did you foresee this lasting as long as it has? The
Oh, did I
B3.
foresee this? Yes. Yes. From that first episode, dude, I am not even lying. That was it kind of reminded me of like back in my actor days, there was just this really special thing that happened as unprepared as you felt. You were like worried about missing lines. You were worried how the audience was going to react. As soon as you stepped on stage and there was like this magic with the audience that just kind of took over, and you suddenly like you go into this blind world where you're just like, okay, character now. I'm on stage. This is fun. I don't even see the audience anymore. It's magical. It's a weird feeling to describe. That is what it felt like that first episode. And it, like, as soon as we hit cut, I was like, damn, that was a good show. We got something really good here, and I had no idea going into it. I knew I was going to have fun. We
Mm-hmm.
were going to tell stories. We're going to do all the fun things about paranormal shows that I want to do. We're going to try this call-in feature, see how it goes. Awesome. There was a lot of unknowns when
Mm-hmm.
we were heading into that episode, but it just worked, and it worked beyond even my expectations. So at that point, like as soon as that first episode, I was like, this can go places. I truly believe that even today, it just keeps getting better and better and better.
Mm-hmm.
We make little tweaks here and there. We keep growing. We're growing the group.
Mm-hmm.
And I just foresee it, bar any unforeseen just craziness. um I just foresee it continuing to go. I can't wait to see where we are this time next year.
Well, we can talk about the growing because when this episode airs, that growing will have already been
Oh
announced.
yeah,
So
yeah.
so yeah, we had talked about bringing in a fifth member, and actually I don't think we talked about it. Somebody approached us, and we were
Mm-hmm.
all on board, and that didn't work out for reasons. And
Mm-hmm.
and then Gil's like, hey, I know this other guy, blah blah blah. He's got a large following. He does this, does that. What would you think about that? And I was like, yeah, as long as there's no stuff like the last person, I was like, let's give it a shot. And
Yeah,
we were all
yeah.
on board, met with him, seemed like a pretty chill dude. I'm excited to get him on. Like I said, when this episode airs, are we bringing him on for episode 6, or is he starting after?
I believe he would have been on it with us for episode 6 back,
Okay, right.
yeah.
We're
Back
talking.
then. Yes, I do believe that is the plan, that he's going to jump on that stream with it. It's
So,
so weird to talk about
so
back then.
it's talking about the future, but
In the past,
in the
we are in the okay.
anyway.
Brain. Um,
So yeah,
yeah, but go ahead with the growth and
right.
the
And so now we've also are going to be doing a weekly show
mm-hmm,
called Paranormal Happy Hour,
mm-hmm,
and I think which again, I think the first one will have already been done when this comes out, but I think we have discussed the first one. We're going to try to do all of us, and then each week it'll just be two of us, sometimes maybe three of us. Just kind of how our
yeah,
schedules
yeah,
work out, and it's going to be basically like beer, booze, and boogeyman, but shorter. And I
mm-hmm.
think we're going to try a few different things with that, and just kind of see how it goes, and hopefully, we can get some sponsorship deals out of this too. So,
Oh gosh, absolutely. If there is any show that is just primed for certain sponsorships, and you know what I'm talking about, beer companies, paranormal beer companies,
mhm,
paranormal coffee companies,
mhm,
which by now everybody's video will be out for our unboxing videos of that, a
Right.
paranormally themed coffee company. Yeah, that kind of stuff. Like it's just ripe for the picking for us. And then like to add on to that, like this extra layer that I don't see a lot on other paranormal shows that I think gives us a little bit of an edge. Technically, it's a comedy show. It's a comedic
Right.
paranormal show.
Uh-huh.
And you just don't see that too terribly much. Like everybody's so serious.
Right.
So,
There is serious moments when people are telling their stories, but like
oh
kind
yeah,
of in between calls, we're just bullshitting like we do in the group chat,
yeah, yeah,
and
yeah.
then you're going to occasionally get stories like the Bigfoot Dick story. So
You had to say it.
I did. I had to. So,
Yeah.
but it's been really fun. And as far as the sponsorship, I don't even care if we got paid for it. I just want like free paranormal beer because I can't find anything where I live.
I know. It's such a travesty. Like you would think Tennessee in the state, the whole state, you could find something like y'all got good beer there. Like where's the paranormal stuff? Where's the fun stuff?
I'm guessing I would have to go to like Nashville, like bigger
Mm.
than where I'm at. But where I live, I've checked literally every single convenience store, liquor store around my area, and I got lucky and found the UFO beer at a grocery store the last time, and yeah, it's been
Dang.
super disappointing, and
Yeah. Well, I'm waiting for you to start breaking out the hard liquors and just throwing something together and being like, this is a ghost fart. This is angel feet. I don't know.
right. So yeah, I mean, I may have to and just make up my own concoction.
Hey, you know what? And then we can offer that as maybe like a segment or extra content, Damien's menu, and we just
Right.
start adding your various drink concoctions to it. That'd be fun.
There you go. So all right. So you mentioned earlier that you're about to wrap up season 6, and you're going to take a little bit of a break. So what's the plan for the return? Like when you plan on returning full time?
So season 7 is going to launch September 3rd. It's the first Tuesday of September. I believe that is the date. And the topic next season is going to be ghosts and hauntings.
Yes.
That is going to keep me busy for a while. And I got to have you back on. You know that, right? Like that's already unsaid thing. I got to have you back on.
I was going to ask that. I was like, when are you going to have me back on?
When it's right, Damien. No, yeah. No, you're
Uh,
you're you're on my short list here. But yeah, I keep having some just really random ideas. I just want to go so deeply into this subject, just fast as the people don't talk about all that much. I just want to explore all of it. And this
right.
is the problem I often run into is I overwhelm myself right at the start. I'm like, I'm gonna do this and this and this, and then I'm gonna do this. But I think, so long as I pace myself, don't burn myself out, there's plenty of really interesting parts to the ghost phenomenon um, that can be explored every week. And I'm so thrilled to be at this point in the show where I feel confident enough to tackle a subject like this. I'm
Right.
not a paranormal investigator. I don't know it like you know it, but I'm
Right.
like, I'm ready. I want to talk about ghost lights and equipment and Japanese ghosts, and I want to talk about it.
Right. Exactly. And you're a paranormal investigator in training because you do
Yep.
have a few under your belt, and I still really want to do a location with all of us there,
Yes.
do a live show, and then investigate afterwards, and maybe like I said, stop a few hours in and record some more, and maybe that'll be like a bonus episode or something, and
Yeah.
like if for what I've already got a location in mind, like if that would be perfect if we could all. I mean, it sounds bad for me because I'm already in Tennessee. So, but it's 3 floors. It's the historic
Hmm.
Scott County Jail. You know,
Ooh, yes. I would love to go there. Love to.
and they have Wi-Fi, so they have electricity, so
Hmm.
they have Wi-Fi. So I know that wouldn't be an issue because I think that would be the biggest issue we would all run into if we did it separately somewhere. Is
Right.
finding a location that has Wi-Fi.
Right.
And because a
Yes.
lot of these locations, especially if they're empty, don't have electricity, so they're definitely not going to have Wi-Fi. So I'm
Hmm.
like, man, I was
Hmm.
like, this place would be perfect. We could set. if all five of us were able to go, you could have two set up on the third floor, kind of spaced out,
Mhm.
somebody in the middle, and then somebody down on the first floor. And I just it'd be like a perfect setup. Like you could all be spaced out, and it's big enough to where if there's two people on the floor, one person could be at one end and one person could be at the other. These shouldn't really bleed into each other. I don't know. I
Yeah,
just think it
yeah,
would.
yeah.
But I call dibs on the second floor.
Is this the location you locked Josh in a coffin?
No, he hasn't been locked in a coffin.
What am I remembering? You told me something about
We
he
had
was
we had we were saying if we ever came to a location that had a coffin in it, he was willing to lay
he
in
would
there.
be
And
the one. Okay. All
so,
right.
but no,
All right.
the historic Scott County Jail is where we captured the picture flying off the wall.
Right. Yes. Oh,
So yeah,
which we talked about when you were first on my show. That's awesome. I
yep.
would love to do that. Yeah, I think did you throw out this idea originally? Whoever it was, this idea makes my heart sing. We would all be meeting in person for the first time, which is crazy to me
I
that
think
y'all
I
are.
think I think that was Gil's thought. He was like, I'm more excited just to meet you guys in person,
Yeah.
which of course, that would be the more important thing because we haven't met each other, even though it feels like we have, because
Hmm.
literally we talk damn near every day, even if it's just for a couple of minutes in the group chat.
Yeah.
And only only thing I hate about if we did it there is how far you would have to travel, and I hate that part.
Just fly into Nashville. Can't be that bad. I'm sure there's
So
a straight one. No stops. I don't know. I'll have to check it out.
but like in my head, I'm thinking, I was like, if we did something like that, I was like, I'd love to do it around Halloween.
Oh,
So
man, I bet that place gets so booked out though for Halloween, you think?
they do stay pretty booked, but like
Yeah.
not to the point where like shit, we got to book this a year and a half in advance.
Hmm.
So like I could probably get on their website right now. They probably have dates in October.
Hmm.
And I'm sure because there is dates they black out because they go to conventions. The ladies who own it, they go to conventions and they do investigations. So I'm sure if like there was a date blacked out, that I was like, look, I was like, this is the only day that works for us. Is there any way we could still do this because this is what we have in mind, and I'm sure we could probably make it work one way or another.
Hmm.
But that's the location I had in mind. Because, like I said, the biggest issue I think we're going to run into is a place with Wi-Fi.
Okay.
So
Okay.
because I know they have it because they live stream their podcast there every week on Facebook. So,
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah.
but
No, man, I'm down. I am down. I'm down for the jail. Let's do that. See what Gil says. Let's just
well,
make the decision for him right now and then surprise him with a ticket.
I'm like Gail, we've already decided this. You and Joey need to be here on this date. And Jonathan, I forgot. Jonathan's got
And
a long. He's
Jonathan,
got a
yeah.
long way to come too.
He's
He's
well, he's in mountain time. I'm not sure where. No, wait, yeah, mountain time. Not too
he's in
far.
he's
I'm
in like
farther than him. So I would be traveling the farthest out of
yeah.
anybody. That's
Because
okay. For you, Damien, I'll do that. I'll do that.
well, I mean, if you're on board, let's I'll toss that out in the group chat here in a little bit and see if we can't
Heck
do it
yeah.
this year. Maybe we can plan to do it like early next year because they're open year
Sure.
round because they
Mm-hmm.
have heat, they
Yeah.
have air, so that wouldn't be an issue either. Where
Okay. Okay.
some of these locations where if they do have electricity and Wi-Fi, they may not have heat or air.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
It
that
can
would be
get a
some of these.
little, oh,
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So all right. Anyway, so how can people follow you, listen to you if they want to do all that fun stuff?
People can follow me on all socials at Paranorm Girl Pod. You can also search at Paranorm Girl Pod on YouTube. Find my YouTube channel. Please subscribe. I appreciate it so much. And you can listen to the Paranorm Girl Pod on all podcast platforms. Anywhere you think there are podcasts, I am probably there. If I'm not, please let me know. And catch visual episodes on YouTube, of course.
Awesome. What about beer, booze, and boogeymen?
And beer, booze, and boogeymen. Well, that's okay. So where are we now at this current date? So beer, booze, and boogeymen. You can follow them at beers, booze, and boogeymen on all socials. Are we on Twitter too? Are we there yet?
We are not on Twitter.
All right.
We're
Instagram,
yep.
Facebook, and TikTok.
Yes.
Follow us there at Beer, Booze, and Boogeymen. You can also find us on YouTube. Beer, Booze, and Boogeymen replays the episode. By now, we might be streamlining a little bit, kind of gathering our audiences together into one kind of platform, one way to watch. So I don't know what to say about that, but stay tuned.
Or just go back and listen to episode 6. Yeah.
Go listen to episode 6. You'll get all the info there.
Right. There we go. So, well, Kristen, thank you for coming back on. Like I said, you were one of my very first guests when I started this show a couple of years ago. And like I said, you've become one of my really good friends, and I appreciate you coming back on and always being willing to help at the drop of a hat when you can. So,
absolutely. I consider you one of my best friends too. It's crazy how things just happen sometimes. Right. And you would do the same for anybody, and really admire that. And I just appreciate you. Thank you for having me on again.
Absolutely. We'll have to do round 3 at some point. Maybe after you get a couple more investigations under your belt. So
All right. I'm still learning.
There you go. All right, everybody. Be sure to go check out Kristen Amanda's show, The Paranormal Girl. Did I fuck that up? Paranorm Girl. I always want to say paranormal. Paranormgirl Podcast. Like I said, on all the socials that she just mentioned, and give her a listen. She's really good. She does the work for her show, and it's really, and I'm guilty. And I told Gil and Joey this. I've listened to your show several times, but I don't have a lot of free time to just sit and listen to stuff. Yeah. So I have listened to quite a few episodes, and it's really well put together. And I think your acting background is part of that. Like you're so articulate and well spoken, and you don't stutter a lot, as to where I stumble over myself at times. And but anyways, thank you again, everybody. Go listen to her, and Kristen, thank you.
All right, thank you, Damien.
All right, everybody, stay spooky.